Good morning, students. Welcome back to online session on Programming for Problem Solving course. In our previous session, we started the concept of control structures, and in that, conditional statements or decision-making statements we were discussing. And we said these decision-making statements, they can be categorized into five. Okay, the simple if statement, if else statement, nested if else statement, else if ladder, and finally the switch case statement. So these five we said, and in these five we have already seen what is a simple if statement, how it is used in order to make the decision when we are coding or when we are writing our C program. And we have also seen if else statement, and we have seen the difference between simple if and if else statement. Then we have also covered nested if else statement. Okay, so the first three we have discussed, and in today's class we'll discuss the other two, that is else if ladder as well as the switch case statement. So hopefully in today's session I will try a maximum to cover these two concepts hopefully. So quickly, the discussion what we had so far, the conditional branching or decision making we started, and we said five different types of conditional branching statements. They are simple if else, nested if, else if ladder, and finally the switch case statement. So the first thing, simple if, what it will do? Yeah, it will be framed with a condition. When we are framing this simple if statement, we are using a condition. Whenever the condition is true, it will execute the true block. So after that condition, or we can say inside the if statement body, we are maintaining the true block, isn't it? True block. It is a block of statements. So inside the simple if body, we are maintaining the true block, and whenever the condition is becoming true, okay, the condition which you are specifying, whenever it is becoming true, simply the true block will get evaluated or get executed. And in case if the condition is false, it is not having anything to do. The simple if statement, it will not do anything, or it will simply skip the true block. When the condition becomes false, it will skip the true block. Okay, so in this way we are using simple if statement. Then this is the syntax to use the if statement, simple if statement, because it is very important and it is very confusing. Those who are attending the C programming classes for the first time, and those who are not having any prior knowledge of this programming, these kind of control structures or these kind of programming constructs, it will become very difficult for you to understand. So my request to you, attend my classes, attend my all the videos, and practice these programming constructs again and again, unless you get the idea of what it is. Okay, still if you have the doubt, still you have any kind of confusion, you can approach me at any time, either physically or through any social media. You can ask me the doubts. I'm ready to solve those doubts. You can ask the students, those who are in touch with me. Those who are approaching me for the doubt clarifications. I'm trying my level best to make the stuff clear to them, make the things clear to them. Okay, so it will apply not only to the students, those who are approaching. It is the same for all the students, irrespective to the branch, irrespective to the department you can approach. Okay, so because some students, they may be thinking that this subject is good for only CSC and IT, and this is not good for civil triple. Likewise, it is mandatory subject, as it is mentioned in your first year. It is mandatory for all the first year students. So all they have to compete for the same question paper, all they have to give the answers in your external exams for the same question paper, both theory as well as lab. There is no differentiation, there is no concession, there is no discount kind of thing. Okay, so prepare well for this subject. And to my consideration, the civil and triple people, they have to pay more attention, because as it is a programming thing, you people will have less knowledge of these type of stuff, less knowledge of computers stuff. So I suggest you have to pay more attention to these classes. Okay, so the syntax for using simple if statement, if followed by the condition, as you can see over here we mentioned. So whenever this condition becomes true, the statement block will be evaluated. Okay, the statement block will be evaluated, and whenever the condition becomes false, it will be skipped. The statement block will be skipped. In that way, your simple if statement will work. Then we have seen the flow chart and an example program also we discussed. Okay, we have if else statement, and we said it is going to have two blocks, true block as well as false block. So whenever the condition you are specifying inside the parenthesis, it will become true, the true block will be evaluated, and whenever the condition which you have specified, it will become false, the false block will be evaluated. Okay, true block evaluation, false block evaluation, you have to understand how it is happening. Okay, and we said either in the true body or in the false body, that is either in the if statement body or in the else statement body, you can put only one statement, one and only one statement. It is not having the flexibility of keeping more statement without those curly brackets. Okay, so if you want to put more number of statements, then what you have to do, simply merge them, simply make a bunch of them by using these curly brackets. Just use these curly brackets and make a bunch of all those statements. So what we said, what this compound statement, what this curly brackets will do with your statements, they will simply group them and make them as a single statement, so that you can put that single statement inside if or inside else. So that is the advantage of having curly brackets or compound statements in C programming. Okay, so yeah, we discussed the syntax, we discussed the flow chart, and we have also seen the example program, how it will work. Okay, so the next thing we discussed nested if else. This is something, keeping an if else inside another if else. Okay, keeping an if else inside another if else. This is what we call nested if else. Okay, simple if also it can be nested. Okay, it is meaningless. Sometimes it is meaningless to have a simple if, nested simple if, because we have other operators or other what we call ways to simply merge this simple if statement. Okay, simply merge this simple if statement. We can use the logical AND operator. Logical AND operator can be used in place of your nested simple if statement. So that is the reason why we are not discussing nested simple if statement. So what we do, basically what we do when we are nesting simple if within another simple if, so what we do, we put another condition, isn't it? We are keeping two conditions, one for the outer if and another for the inner if. So with the help of this logical AND operator, we are doing the same thing. We can merge, we can club two statements, logical AND only. Simply what we are doing, we are merging two conditions and we are framing one single condition. Okay, we are framing one single condition. So in that way, as your logical AND operator is the replacement for your nested simple if statement, so that is the reason why we are not discussing nested simple if statement. But when it comes to nested if else statement, we have to discuss. Nested if else statement, there is no alternative, there is no alternate operator. Okay, so that is the reason why we are discussing this nested simple if statement. Already we did it in our last class. So what we are doing, we are simply keeping an if else statement inside another if else statement. So then we call it as nested if else statement. If you keep one if else statement into another if else statement, we call it as nested if else statement. So here, for every if else, we are going to have one true block as well as one false block. Even to the nested one, we are going to have one true block and one false block. And according to the behavior of these two conditions, when you are using two if else statements, how many conditions we are going to put? We are going to put two conditions. Okay, we are going to put two conditions, and based on the behavior of these two conditions, either statement 1, statement 2 or statement 3 will be evaluated. So here when we are saying statement 1, it can be a single statement or a block of statement. Okay, When we are saying statement 1, statement 2, statement 3, either it can be a single statement or a block of statement, compound statement. Okay, so like that you can remember. So if expression 1 is true and expression 2 is also true, then statement 1 will be evaluated. If expression 1 is true and expression 2 is false, then statement 2 will be evaluated. When expression 1 itself is false, then statement 3 will be evaluated. See, when expression 1 becoming false, when condition 1 or expression 1 is becoming false, we are not checking the expression 2, because when expression 1 becomes false, the control will not enter into that body. The control will not go to the second if else statement. So that is the reason why we are not discussing that internal portion, internal if else statement. So this kind of logic processing, it is very, very, very important, I am telling you. Okay, so in this way we can use nested if else. I mean, don't blame yourself that we are not understanding. The thing, you are not doing the hard work, that is the only reason. Because the students, those who are approaching for doubt clarification, believe me, they are good at everything. Okay, they are good at everything. They are practicing all the stuff whatever I am giving in my videos. They are practicing all the things, I mean, on paper as well as using the IDE, using the compiler. They are practicing everything, and they are doing some wonders in C language, believe me. They are generating their own ideas. They are solving their own ideas. Okay, so do in that way, follow my videos, try to complete the given assignment, given task on time, and try to I mean, practice the programs, try to practice the concepts. Moreover, if you have any doubts, you can approach me. Okay, so this is about simple if statement, if else statement, and nested if else statement, and finding the biggest number into example program for simple if else statement, then finding the biggest number in 3 example program for nested if else, that also we have discussed. So yeah, in today's class we'll discuss this dangling else problem. This is one concept we will discuss, and then else if ladder we will discuss, and switch case we will discuss. These 3 things we will discuss. So the first one is dangling else problem. So what is dangling else problem? See, when we are nesting if else within another if else, we'll get some sort of issue when we don't use the curly brackets, proper curly brackets. So as I said, to indicate the compound statement, what we are doing, we are using the curly brackets. And if we don't use the curly brackets, ultimately your compiler will get confused between using the statements. Okay, that statement, specifically the else statement, the else part of your if, it will get confused with the else part of your if statement. So if you have nested if else, sometimes what will happen, your else will be merged with some other if, as you are not insisting it to do, as you are not insisting to do. So such a problem, such a case, we call it as dangling else problem. So the nested if else statement has to be used with extra care. Why means because of this dangling else problem. Okay, otherwise it may lead to the dangling else problem. It is very simple. We have to use with extra cautiousness, we have to use with extra care whenever we are using this else if, nested if else. Okay, so this problem arises when there is no matching else for every if statement. You are using more than one if statement and you are writing only one else part. Let us assume you are using more than one if statement and you are using only one else part. Then the else with which if it has to be used, okay, the else part with which if it has to be used, the compiler will get confused. So such an issue, such a problem, we call it as dangling else problem. In C, always an else part is paired with the most recent unpaired if. Okay, whatever ifs we have, always the else part will be paired with the most recent if statement, with the most recent unpaired if statement. Okay, doing so may result that some of the if statement may left unpaired. So if your compiler is considering your else part for the most recent unpaired if part, then what will happen? the other if statements will be left out without any else part. So this is what we called dangling else problem. I will show you with examples. Okay, so my whiteboard application, it got closed. Let me just open that one. Yeah, this is my whiteboard. So here, let us say we are writing one. Let us say we are writing one if statement. So how we write? So if followed by condition we put. Okay. So let us say this is condition 1. Then what I am doing? I am keeping only one statement inside this one. As it is having only one statement, what I am doing? That one statement I am considering it as if else. Okay, another if else, nested if else I am framing over here. So if statement, another if statement followed by condition 2. Then what I am doing? I am closing this one. Sorry. Inside it, I am writing one statement. Statement 1. Okay, I wrote only one statement, that is statement 1. Then I am writing the else part. And for this else part, I am writing another statement. Statement 2. So now, yeah, for this if also, I'm not writing any else. Let us assume I'm not writing any else for this if. So now how, I mean, this is without any problem I have written. Okay, without any problem. Whatever I'm insisting, the compiler will do the same. Okay, so here what will happen? Whenever the condition 1 becomes true, control will enter into the if body. Whenever the condition 1 becomes true, the control will enter into the if body. So inside the if body, we have another if else. Inside the if body, we have another if else. So what will happen over here? This if will be considered. Yani this condition will be considered. Whenever the condition 1 becomes true, condition 2 will be considered. So if this condition is also true, condition 2 is also true, then what will happen? Then statement 1 will be evaluated. This is clear for us. Statement 1 will be evaluated. If this condition is true, the control will enter into the if body, and if this condition 2 is also true, then the control will enter into second if body, and it will evaluate the statement 1. Okay, this is the first case. So let us assume another case when the condition 1 is true and when the condition 1 is false. Condition 2 is false. Then what will happen? If the condition 1 is true and the condition 2 is false, then it will be skipped. It will not be evaluated. Ultimately, what will happen? The control will go to the false block of the second if statement, because second condition is false, right? So the control will jump to the false block of second if statement, that is else part. So condition statement 2 will be evaluated. Whenever the condition 2 is false, statement 2 will be evaluated. So this is another thing. This is case 2. Case 1 we discussed, where only statement 1 will be evaluated, and case 2 is statement 2 will be evaluated. There is another case when this condition 1 becomes false. When this condition 1 becomes false, then what will happen? The control will not enter into the body of if statement. The control will not enter into the body of this if statement. So simply it will skip this entire thing, and whatever you have after this if statement, whatever you have after this if statement, that will be evaluated. That will be evaluated. Okay, this is clear for us. Here, three different cases we have. The first case, when condition 1 becomes true, the condition 2 will be checked. And condition 2 is also true means, then statement 1 will be evaluated. That is case 1. In case 2, when condition 2 is false, when condition 2 is false, what will happen? Statement 2 will be evaluated. Okay, that is clear. Then when condition 1 itself false, that is the third case, when the condition 1 itself false, the control will not enter into the if body and it will simply skip the if body, and whatever statements we have after the if statement, they will be evaluated. Okay, they will be evaluated. So likewise, the control will consider your simple if with a nested if else. Okay, so this is clear for us without any dangling else problem. Here we don't have any dangling else problem. So let us assume I'm writing the same thing but with minute changes, with minor changes. So how the compiler will respond, you see that one. So I'm removing this line and I'm removing this true and false. Okay, and I'm removing this cross marks and all. Okay, so now I'm removing this else part as well. Sorry, I'm removing this else part as well. So now what I'm doing, I want this else part. So I want to put only simple if within an if. Only simple if within an if, and I want to write the else part for this if. I want to write the else part for this outer if. So I'm writing like this. I'm writing over here else, okay, statement 2. Statement 2. Now we have to think this particular code in two different ways. In our point of view, in programmer's point of view, how we are treating this code, and in compiler's point of view, how the compiler will treat that code. So whatever we assume, that will become a false thing, and whatever compiler will do, because compiler, it is a dumb thing, whatever we instruct it to do, it will do that same thing. So if we are coding dumbly, that means the compiler will also execute it, or the compiler will also consider it in that way only. So it is a dumb thing if you code like this, because see, just now we said whatever we are coding or whatever we are writing. Okay, let me just open that PPT. Yeah, this thing I want. Yeah, this consideration I want. So in C, always an else part is paired with the most recent unpaired if. Always the else part is paired with, yeah, this statement you read it. Always the else part is paired with the most recent if, unpaired if. The most recent unpaid if. This is an important statement in your dangling else problem. This is an important statement. Always an else part is paired with the most recent unpaid if. So what is my unpaid if over here? Whether it is this one or this one, both these ifs are unpaid ifs only. Both this if statement, the first if statement and this nested if statement, both these if statements are unpaid ifs only for me. Okay, so with what this else part will be what we call paid with the most recent unpaid if. So which one is the most recent unpaid if to me, to this else part? Yeah, this one, because it is very near to it. Okay, most recent means which one? The one which is very near to the else. Okay, so this one, what I want this else to be paid over here with this outer if. But how the compiler is treating? It is treating this else with this if. So this is what we call dangling else problem, because there is a confusion between the programmer and the compiler where to pair this else part, whether to pair this with the outer part or whether to pair this with inner part. The programmer is considering that the else part will be paired with the outer if part, but the compiler, what it is doing, it is pairing this else part with the most recent if. So this is the problem of dangling else. Okay, this is the problem of dangling else. So what I am considering, what the programmer is considering, whenever condition 1 becomes true, the internal if part should be considered. The internal if part should be considered. And whenever the condition is going false, whenever this condition is becoming false, the else part, the outer else part, I mean, the else part what you have written, it has to be considered. So is it going to do in that way? No, it will not do in that way. What it will do? First, whenever the condition 1 is becoming true, it will go to the second condition. And whenever the second condition is becoming true, it will consider statement 1. And whenever the second condition is becoming false, it will consider statement 2. So it will simply pair this if with the most recent unpaid if. Most recent unpaid if, in compiler's point of view, as the most recent unpaid if is this second one, so it will pair this else with this one, rather than pairing it this else with this f, as the programmer is considering. This will not happen. This will happen. So this is your dangling else problem. Hopefully you understood. Then how to solve this dangling else problem means simply by taking a pair of curly brackets you can solve. Simply by taking a pair of curly brackets you can solve this dangling else problem. So I want this else to be paired with outer if. Yani the first if. The not the recent one but the what we call the latter one. Okay, the latter if. I want this else to be paired with the latter if, not the recent if. So what I have to do, simply take curly brackets. Here you put one curly bracket opening and here you put one closing curly bracket. Then what will happen? Ultimately this if will be paired with the outer if only. This else will be paired with outer if. Yeah, now in both the point of views, in programmer's point of view as well as in the compiler's point of view, the same thing will happen. There will be no confusion now when you use this compound statement. So now what will happen? Whenever the condition 1 becomes true, then only the control will enter into the if body. Okay, if body is from here to here, and whenever the condition 1 is becoming false, the control simply jumps to the outer else from here to here, and there will be no confusion now. This particular concept they asked for like 5 marks, I guess. 5 marks in only one time they asked. This dangling else problem, only one time they asked, and that too they asked for 5 marks. What is the dangling else problem when you are using nested if else statement? And when this particular thing will come, whenever you are having nested if else, then only it will this kind of dangling else problem will arise. And they asked this question only once. Okay, I have not seen any repetition in this one. They asked this question only once, and it is an important question. That is the reason why we are discussing over here. Okay, then after this we have the concept of else if ladder, and it is a multi-way selection statement, and it is an important thing. Okay, so dangling else already we discussed. See here, compiler paired this. I have shown graphically how the things will go. So we are thinking that this else should be paired, this outer else should be paired with this if. But what the compiler is doing, I have shown with this what we call yellowish marker. Okay, I have shown this with the yellow marker here. Compiler pairs this if with the else. Okay, pairs this if with the else. Rather than pairing this if with this else, it is pairing over here. So this is the problem of dangling else. Okay, dangling else. So dangling in the sense without any support, simply hanging. Okay, without any base support or without any proper support, simply hanging. We call it as dangling. So because here else, there is a confusion where to treat that else, whether to treat with this most recent one or whether to treat with the latter one. In programmer's point of view, it should be with the latter one, but in compiler's point of view, it got paired with the most recent one. Okay, so that sort of confusion, the else is simply dangling over there. Without any support, it is dangling. So that is the reason why we are calling this problem as dangling else problem. Okay, so the next one, yeah, the else if ladder. When you write this nested if else, it can be molded in such a way that it can frame a ladder kind of thing. See, suppose if you are having in nested if else, if you are having one nested if else into another, and if you take another nested if else into the second one, so simply I will show you that one with on my whiteboard. So here, delete this one. So suppose first what I have done, I have taken one if. Okay, one if with condition 1. Condition 1. So over here, inside this if, I am taking another if. If followed by condition 2. Okay, inside this I am taking another if condition 3. Okay, so like this I am continuing and I am taking up to n. Let us assume condition n. Condition n. And for this I am writing some statements over here. Then the else part. Okay, opening, closing. Then for this also I have to write the else part. Okay, opening, writing some statements, and closing. And for this outer if, here also we have one if, right? So for this also, I am writing one else part. So like this, how many else's I am getting? How many if statement I am having, that many else statements I am getting. So finally the outermost, this condition 1 if part, for that also I have to write one else part. For that also I have to write one else part. So that I am doing over here, else, open it, close it. So like this. So all these if else statements, see, like this. Okay, all these if else statement, they are, I mean, they are going like this: first if, then if, then if, then up to n ifs, and for each if I have written a suitable else part, like this. For this one else, here also for this one another else, for this one more else, and finally the last one, it is having its pair of else somewhere here, down here. So like this. So instead of doing, I mean, instead of framing the conditions and instead of having else for every if condition, we can, I mean, mold this kind of nested if else in a more flexible or more suitable thing. So I will put some double implication over here because it will have the same meaning here also. So here you can frame that, the confusing thing, into a simple thing like this. First, what you do, start writing if followed by the condition, followed by the condition 1. Then, yeah, don't go for nested thing, simply take the block. Okay, take the block for this if, and when you are writing the else part, you can frame like this, else, and inside that else you frame another if, that is condition 2. So over here what we are achieving is a multi-way selection statement only we are achieving, and this is one better solution we can say. And here a lot of confusion, which else should go with which if, and if you forget even a single curly bracket, a lot of confusion will come, a lot of confusion will arise. I am not saying that not to use this type of nested if else, it is also one solution, but when you are having more number of paths, if you want to put more number of alternative paths, then go for else if ladder. To some extent, like 1, 2, 3, up to that you can go with this nested if else. But if the path count is increasing, if multiple alternate count is increasing, then simply go for else if ladder rather than going with nested if else. Go with if else ladder like this. Okay, again when you are writing else, again you put if, else if, again condition 3. So like this you can do. For this also you put some statements, then one more else if. Like this you can put up to condition n, up to n. Okay, close this, and so on till what extent you can put, up to n you can put, up to n you can put. Okay, so this is something we call it as nested, not nested, else if ladder. We call it as else if ladder. Just give me a second. So over here, yeah, you can start continuing writing like this else if ladder, and you can conclude else if followed by the condition n. I mean, how many possible paths you want, that many else ifs you can write by simply making use of this else if ladder in this way. Okay, hope you understood this one. So we will understand all these things with the help of a simple already I have shown the syntax. Okay, now we do a simple program. Dangling else we discussed, then this nested if else ladder. So yeah, I will go to the PPT and we see what we have over there. Okay, in this PPT what we said, nested if else problem can be used in such a way so that the programmer can put more number of conditions into it to have multiple paths. Just now I told whenever we want to have more number of multiple paths, simply we are going for nested if else statement. It is a way of having multiple paths or flows, multi-way selection in a program known as else if ladder. Okay, if else if ladder, the first if is coded with its associated statements. The else part for this if will have another if statement. Instead of having else part to each and every if separately, after coding all the ifs, what we are doing, we are simply making the else if ladder in such a way to avoid the confusion inside what we have in your nested if else statement. Whenever you are coding nested if else statement, we are getting the confusion with this else part. So to avoid that confusion, instead of coding all the ifs first, then all the elses, we are coding if followed by else, then if followed by else, then if followed by else, like that. If you can see over here. See, between these two, you have to observe the difference. What we have done, first we have coded all the ifs, then we have started all the else. Okay, it is also one possible way of achieving multi-way selection statement. Okay, so rather than doing like this, even if you miss one single else, or if even you miss even one curly bracket, then what will happen? The complete program code will become error prone. So to avoid this one, what we have done, instead of going like this, after coding every if, immediately we are coding the else part suitable to that one. So if condition else, and in that else we are writing another if and else. Like that, we have coded all our if else statements, and here we call it as else if ladder statement, and it is a way of avoiding confusion in our programming. The structure will form an else if ladder of if else followed by another if else followed by another if else, likewise. Hence the name else if ladder. Okay. So simply you can see the syntax here also, you can see the syntax, and already I have shown there also. In first we are coding condition 1 if statement with condition 1, it is having only statement 1, then another else if condition 2 statement 2, and so on up to else if condition n statement n, and finally you can take another else, and that will become the default. Okay, at the end I think we have taken that last else. Yes, last else I forgot to take. You can take the last else also, which will be paired with this final if statement. Okay, so here you can take, and we call this else as the default else, because when all the conditions becomes false, then this default else will be selected. When all the conditions will become false, then this default condition will be selected. So quickly we do a simple program on this one so that you can remember this concept forever. The conditions are evaluated from the top to down. So here, in order to understand this one, whenever condition 1 becomes true in this particular statement, else if ladder, when condition 1 becomes true, only the statement 1 will be evaluated. Okay, and when the condition 1 becomes false, then the control will go to this condition 2. And if the condition 2 is true, statement 2. Condition 3 is true, statement 3. Likewise, all these statements, they are dependent on their respective conditions. They are not dependent on other conditions. Okay, if condition n is true, means statement n will be evaluated. The respective statement will be evaluated. And if in case all the conditions are false, means then this default else statement will be evaluated. The last final else statement will be evaluated. So we will see the program for this one so as to have the clarity on this one. So here the program is, see, this program to find the passing grade of a student. So here what we do, we read some marks of a student, and based on the marks, okay, we read some marks of a student, and based on the marks we will tell whether the student got first class, second class, third class, I mean in which designation he got cleared. And if he is not fulfilling any of the grade, then what we have to say, he got failed. Okay, he got failed. Likewise, we have to frame the program. It is very simple program. I am taking a source file, and I am start coding the program. Okay, so here just start writing the program. Including my header file. Okay, then int main of void. Here you start writing, I'm taking, see, always we are using integer data type only. So now what I thought, to um, to use some different data types as well, so I'm using a float data type. Float is also a data type. With float you can you can input the real values. Okay, real values with fractional parts. So float, I'm taking like m1, m2, M3, M4. Four subject marks I am taking, I am reading. Then I will calculate the average, because based on the average only we will tell whether the student is in first class, second class, third class, or in which class. Okay, which class he cleared the exam. So likewise, I am taking another float AVG, average. So now what I have to do? Okay, we have to read the marks of the students into those variables. Okay, scanf, this already I explained. Scanf function we already discussed in our previous class. To read the values from the keyboard, we use this scanf to read the values. Okay, so one way is we can initialize the values into our program, within our program, or the second way we can read the values from the keyboard, and the second alternate method I am using over here, that is scanf. So scanf, first print a statement, okay, valid statement, so that the, or else you go with like this only, because it is giving some disturbance to me. Okay, here, yeah, I will take okay, so I am reading the values scanf. So when you are reading what we call float, percentile d can't be used anymore. Okay, so to read the float values, what we have to use? Percentile f. Okay, to read the real values we have to use, to print the real values we have to use percentile f, and to read the real values we have to use percentile f. Float in the sense percentile f, conversion code will be percentile f. So how many subjects I am reading? 4 subjects I am reading, so 4 percentile f's. Then comma you put and write, pass the first variable address m1, so that this first values whatever you enter from the keyboard, that should be inputted, that should be inserted into this m1. So first subject marks, then second subject ampersand m2, then third subject ampersand m3, and finally the fourth subject ampersand m4, and simply put an semicolon at the end. Scanf is over. So now calculate the average. Average equals to m1 plus m2 plus m3 plus m4. Okay, then divide all these things with 4. Okay, so now here you have to take, already we said now, the division operator is having the highest priority, isn't it? The division operator is having the highest priority. So this division operator will take the charge, and it will be divided only with m4 marks. Okay, the 4 will be divided only with m4 marks. It will divide only m4 marks. It will not divide the rest of the things. So how we can do so that the operator, whatever we have over here, it will override the precedence of all these operators, means you simply take the curly bracket. Curly brackets are used to override the precedence. To override the precedence. So now what will happen? See, actually the division operator has to be evaluated first according to the precedency rule. According to the precedence rule, the division operator has to be evaluated first. But when you take the parenthesis like this, when you take the parenthesis, you simply go and check inside your precedence table, the parenthesis having the highest priority. The parentheses are having the highest priority. So now what will happen? Whatever you enclose between these parentheses, that will be evaluated first. That will be evaluated first, and then it will be divided with 4. It will be divided with 4. So now average we have calculated. So now we, based on this average, if my average is greater than or equals to 75, if at all my average is greater than or equals to 75, what I have to do? Printf, okay, passed in first division. Okay, first division or distinction, isn't it? More than 75 in the sense distinction. He cleared in distinction. So like this you print one simple message. Okay, student got distinction. So this you take like this, and for this else, another if we are keeping. Else if, and here if at all AVG is greater than or equals to what we call, yeah, not greater than, it should be in between. It should be in between. See, just see how I am taking the range over here. It should be less than 75, and we should not say equals to, because equals to case already we have taken. And AVG should be greater than or equals to how much? 50%. Greater than or equals to 60%. Then we call it as first class, isn't it? It should be, if it is more than okay, this is first class. If it is more than 75 and below 65, below or equals to 65, then we call it as first class. Okay, student cleared the exam in first class, exams in first class. Then one more case, else if AVG is greater than 60 and AVG average is less than 60. Here it should be less than 60 and greater than or equals to 50. So this case is, this is your what we call second class. This is your second class. And finally, yeah, don't take this parenthesis over here, because we are framing all single statements, so I'm not taking the compound statements. Only one statement we are writing. So finally, if at all he is below 50 and above 40, so that case also you write, else if average is lesser than 50 and average is greater than or equals to 40. Okay, this case is printf third class, isn't it? Third class, like this. Then finally, if none of this, if he is getting below 40, if he is getting below 40, then he is failed, isn't it? 40% is the minimum. If he is getting below 40 means printf, okay, failed. So like this we have written one simple program. Okay, so it is very simple to, I'm saving the program, demo else if dot c. Okay, demonstrating else if statement. So demo else if dot c. So here what I have done, I have taken I have declared 4 variables for storing 4 different subject marks, then another variable for calculating the average, then I'm reading the values from the keyboard, calculating the average. Because division operator is having the highest priority, so to override the priority of these plus sign, I am using this parenthesis so that the priorities will get overridden and these plus signs will be evaluated first and then the division operator. Then if average is greater than or equals to 75, we are saying distinction. If average is below 75 and 60, between 75 and 60, we are saying first class. And if average is between 60 and 50, we are saying second class. If it is between 50-40, we are saying third class. If it is below 40, we are saying failed. Okay, we are saying failed. So in this way, you can frame the program. Okay, compilation, it is successful, and if you run the program, see, it will simply wait. The control will simply wait without any statement. So what I told, what you have to do in such a case, simply write a printf statement before the scanf. So here you write printf, enter the 4 subject marks. Enter the 4 subject marks. If you want to make these subject specifics like physics, chemistry, mathematics, PPS, like that also you can do. Okay, now save it and execute it. Compilation. Yeah, it is giving some issue. Yeah, here we forgot to put the semicolon. Expected semicolon before scanf. What I said, if it is asking you to keep the semicolon before the red line, before the highlighted line, you have to check the before line. Okay, the highlighted lines before line. So here you have to put semicolon and compile. Compilation is successful. Now execute. It will give you, it is asking you to enter any 4 subject marks. So let us say if I am giving 72, okay, second subject 78, third subject 60, fourth subject 79, likewise. So here the average, ultimately it will go more than 75. So the student will clear the, I don't think it is more than 75. See, we will see. We'll check whether it is distinction or first class. See, first class, just 1 mark, I mean, with 1 mark border only, he lose the distinction. Okay. So first class it is showing. So then once again you go and compile and execute. Compilation, then execution, and give all high marks like 80, 85, like that you give. 89, okay, 85, 82, then 78. So all are more than 75. So your average will become more than 75 and you should get distinction. So distinction. Okay. So if he is getting all low marks, like execute all 30, 35, 34, 32, all are below 40. So fade. So like this you can. Okay. Like this you can. See the logic, the random logic I have taken over here, not according to the university rules or something. Just we have to demonstrate how this else if will work. If you want, you can take an assignment and you can code a student's grade program specific to your university rule. Like how many grades they are considering, and all that research you have to do, and based on that you have to develop an application which fulfill the exact needs of our student assessment. When you are assessing a student, suppose if a particular student is cleared 3 subjects, let us assume M1, M2, M3 he cleared, but in M4 he got only 20 marks. So ultimately his overall results should be failed only, isn't it? So how you are going to do that? I mean, what logic, what strategy you are going to follow? All those things you have to think and you have to frame. And it is, I mean, I'm not giving any deadline for you people. You can work on it. Okay. I mean, the way how we complete the, what we call concepts in C language, many concepts will give some idea to you. Just have this problem in your mind. Okay. Just have this problem statement in your mind and try to fulfill, try to give the perfect result for this particular problem statement. Here I have done some assumed one I have done over here. I have assumed that only 4 subject marks, and if he is getting the average percentage, and I'm not considering individual subjects, if his average percentage is more than 40 means third class, more than 60 means first class, more than 75 means distinction, like that I am considering. Hopefully you understood the concept, what I have assumed and what has to be done, and you have to do what has to be done. Okay. So yeah, we'll go to the next statement, the final statement in this conditional statements. Okay. The switch statement. It is also an alternative method for having multiple paths, multi-way selection statement, we can say. It is an alternative method of your if else if ladder. Whatever else if ladder statement just now we discussed, it is the easiest approach of that else if ladder. Okay, using this switch case also, what we are achieving, what we are getting means the possibility of multiple paths, possibility of alternative paths. Okay, whenever one condition is satisfying, we are selecting the suitable path. Whenever another condition is satisfying, we are selecting the respective path. Likewise, we do in switch case also. So if you see, the switch statement is a way to implement a multi-way selection statement in C. The switch statement is used only when the selection condition reduces to an integral expression. So over here, unlike your what we call else if, where we are having multiple conditions, but over here what we have only one expression. We should not say condition, we were going to have only one expression, and based on that expression's value we are going to select our cases, we are going to select our paths, multiple paths. Okay, if the selection condition is not an integral value, the else if ladder is used. And moreover, in your else if ladder, in your else if ladder, always the condition it has to give either true or false, or a either it has to give a integral value or it has to give a boolean value, isn't it? Because integral values, all non-zero values will be considered as positive and 0 will be considered as negative. So in short, we can say all the values which can be reduced to boolean values, only they can be used inside your else if ladder. But in your switch case, if you have the alternate case, if you have the other case, and if your expression is yielding the values other than numerical values, then you have to go for switch case. Okay. Switch is a selection statement in which decision for selection is made between many alternatives, same like your multi-way selection. Okay. Yeah, quickly, yeah, you can see over here what we are saying. Expression we are taking inside this switch statement. Switch followed by the expression we are taking, and if this expression, if it is becoming constant 1, then case 1 will be evaluated. Case 1 statements will be evaluated, and immediately after every case we are keeping this break statement. So what this break statement will do means, it will avoid the entering of into other cases. It will avoid your control entering into other cases. So let us say, as we said, if your C program is a sequential execution program. Sequential execution means it will execute all the statements sequentially. So if you don't put this break, what will happen? When constant 1 is reaching, or when expression 1 is evaluating constant 1 is evaluated to constant 1, then all the statements which you have kept inside the case constant 1 will be evaluated. Case constant 1 will be evaluated. And yeah, if you forget to put this break over here, then the control will go to the constant 2 case as well. Constant 2 case as well. So to avoid this one, what we are saying, we are keeping simply a break statement in every case, so as to stop the control entering into other cases. So expression 1, it will be evaluated. If the value is constant 1, then this case 1 will be evaluated. Constant case 1 will be evaluated. If expression is evaluated and it gave the value of constant 2, then case constant 2 will be evaluated. And if expression is evaluated to constant n, likewise if expression 1 is evaluated to constant n, then case constant n, the suitable constant case, will be evaluated. If none of the things are matching with your expression result, if none of the cases are matching with your expression result, then what will happen? Then the default case will be evaluated without any constant. If without no constant, whatever you have specified is matching, then default case will be evaluated. Okay, just remember this one. Okay, so to break every case, we are keeping that break statement. Yeah, quickly we'll demonstrate this switch case. So what I am taking means, I will read one. Yeah, take another empty file. Okay. So what I will do, my program I'm writing in such a way that I will input the character. I will input the character from the keyboard, and if my character is, let us say, the first letter of a color, what I will input? The first letter of a color I will input, and if my input is R, it has to give red. If my input is O, it has to give orange color. If my input is some W, then it has to give white color. B, black color, likewise. Okay, so for some cases we will write, and rest of the cases we will put under default, that is invalid option, invalid choice, likewise. Okay, so simply I'm writing the program, I'm starting the program. See, I forgot to write the main function. So int main of void, you write, hit enter. So over here, yes, take read any character ch. Okay, then read the value printf, enter your choice, that's it, enter your choice. Yeah, don't put \n, enter your choice, semicolon at the end, read that into ch, scanf. Yeah, as it is a character, you have to use the conversion code %c. Okay, then for a character to read, yeah, and %ch like this. Put the semicolon at the end. Then switch. Okay. Then ch you pass over here. Hit enter. See, this is the syntax of using your switch case. Switch followed by that choice. Whatever choice you will read, that choice will come inside that switch expression, switch statement. Okay, at the expression. Then case, you write the first case when the character ch will become r. Ch will become r. So first we'll write only for capital letter. So you have to enter only, it is a case sensitive language. So you have to enter only capital letter. Okay. Case r. Then what you have to put? Printf red. Okay. Red color. Then break this statement. Then break this statement. Okay. Then case 2. Another case I am taking and I am keeping B. Okay. B means blue color we will take. Okay. Blue. Keep a semicolon at the end. And again break. You can do this with the months of an year. Like J for January. F for February. Like that also you can do. Okay. Then I am taking another color. G. Okay. Green. Write all capitals just to have some fun over here. That's it. No other purpose. Go to end. Semicolon. This is break. And then after this, yeah, if you want, you can take more cases, but I'm not taking any. I'm writing my default. Okay, I'm writing my default. And in that, I'm writing printf. Okay, printf invalid option. Invalid choice. Invalid choice. That's it. Put the semicolon at the end. Save the program. Yeah, this is switch case dot c. Hit enter. So the syntax of switch case, you have to use switch followed by the expression or the value or the variable, whatever you want to pass, you can pass. Okay. Simple expression I have passed over here without any operator. You can pass with operators as well over here if you are passing the integer values. Okay. So switch followed by the case, followed by the choice or option. Then based on the choice value, we are writing the cases. So if the choice goes to R, if you enter R value inside this CH, then what will happen? Here CH will become R. So if CH is R, then case R will be evaluated. Case R will be evaluated and you will get red. If you enter B, okay, if you enter B, then CH will become B, then blue will be evaluated. Okay, if you input G, then CH will become G, and then case G will be evaluated. That green you will get on the output screen. So like that, if you enter, okay, if you input, here you mention that one, input a single character. If you enter multiple characters, again the output, the result will be default only. So if you enter some other character other than this RBG, if you input any other character, then what will happen? Ultimately, you will get this invalid choice option. So simply we go and we see, are we going to get the output in that same way or it is having any other meaning? Okay, simply execute. So enter the choice, input a single character. So if I input R, it will give you invalid choice. Why? Because I have my choices I made like capital letters. My choices I made, my cases I made like capital letters. So small letter, capital letter, they are different in your C language. So that is the reason why it is showing me the invalid choice. So what I have to do, I have to input only capital letters. Okay. So compile, execute. So again it is asking, if I enter capital R, red it is showing. You can see over here. When I entered capital R, it is showing red. Okay. So the next thing, try with G. It will show you, sorry, not this one. It will show you green. Try with G, capital G, it will show you green. Okay, try with small g, it will show you invalid option, invalid choice. So like this you can write some menu driven programs. Basically why we use this switch case to write menu driven programs in our C language. So very soon you will understand what you mean by menu driven program and all. Okay, how we can make our C programs more interactive and more user friendly. All those things we'll study step by step. Okay, so hopefully today's class it is clear to you, and if you have any doubts you can approach me. Thank you very much, students.